was quite keen for us to talk about this because it's reality and everybody just pretends it's not. It's important to do this at events like this because this is where the ecosystem comes together. So you've got the people who have the money and you've got the people who need the money, and everybody pretends there's only one way to engage, and the rules are being set ultimately by the VC community. So showing vulnerability is considered weakness. If I would go as a founder to my VC and say, you know what, I'm really struggling with my anxiety. I have a panic attack every morning because of the stress and everything. The VC typically wouldn't look at me and go, you know what, maybe we should get you some help. They would probably go, man up, do your thing. This is not the environment for you. If you can't stand the heat, don't come close to the fire. There's a mindset around this, and we're trying to change that. Because reality is, a lot of people are struggling. And a lot of people are struggling to the degree that it becomes irreversible. So what we're trying to do is get people just to talk more about it, understand that everybody has responsibility, but there are people on the investment side that could change a few things quite quickly to make it easier for the founders to succeed. And it's not a zero-sum game, but sometimes it's being portrayed like that. But reality is, you're twice more likely to have anxiety, you're twice more likely to have depression as a founder, you're twice more likely to have suicidal ideation, you're 3 times more likely to use drugs and substances. And that's just research, that's data that's been around for 10 years now. That's just one benchmark. Co-founder conflict, loneliness, relationships failing, all of these things are part of the everyday life of a founder, but when they show up at a VC, they just need to put their smile on and their professionalism and the pitch, because that's what they think is expected. But it is working because we see more and more investors really just acknowledging that they need to learn. There's curiosity. There's no longer just a block and go away, we don't care. So yeah, I think it's working, but it's a long journey. And sometimes it takes high-profile incidents for these things to go to the surface. In India, over the last 3 years, there have been a handful of very high-profile founder suicides. So when something like this happens, the ecosystem is really being shaken up because people know each other. And it's moments like this that's an opportunity for people to engage and go, let's change something about this. But it takes time because it's personal and we're not raised to be vulnerable. So I had a very personal agenda when I just asked you to join the content board. And I was very clear from the beginning, I don't want this to be a conference where we only talk about the next trends. Fintech has been around in this format for about 15 years now. I started in this world where we didn't have a word for it yet, when people thought Fintech means technology from Finland. Right? So the world has changed. So I think one of the things that is important is to take stock and look back and see what has worked, what hasn't worked. That was one of the things I wanted us to talk about. And it's nice to see it somewhat reflected. It's nice to acknowledge where the community locally has come, how the community also within the wider region has grown, the relationship with Spain, that's reflected. I genuinely don't care about trends because trends come and go. Guess what? If I had this conversation with you 10 years ago, everybody was talking about blockchain because everybody wanted to learn. It's nice to have an opening keynote with AI and educating people what it actually means. It's brilliant person. Cassie did an amazing job. But it's also good to dig deeper. And for me, the important thing is also to talk about subjects like the well-being side of the founders. How do people in the ecosystem who don't have access in the same way as others? That's why it's important to talk about women in this world, right? There's still a ridiculous amount of sexism, a ridiculous amount of racism. It's difficult for me to ignore that, and it's nice that you guys have Disruptor, right? So all these things was like one of the things I said to Andres from the beginning was, let's not make this all male panels. It's a facet of the content, but we're really tired sitting listening to four straight white men in their 40s talking about something they don't have a lived experience of. Again, it's a process. But I'm super happy to see that some of these things are reflected, and there's diversity, which for me is a good word. And for a lot of people nowadays, it's not a good word, because how else would you actually bring in the needs of everybody in the community into the fintech pipeline.